It would help if I could actually read my own goddamn handwriting. What's going on here? Oh, I think we're live. No, it's not made for kids. Silly tricks. Not made for whatever. Back to StreamYard. Ooh, we are live. We've been live for 13 seconds. Good day. Good evening. Bienvenue. Hello. Greetings and salutations. I'm looking a little bit smart this evening. Wait. Yes. Sound Engineer 101. Make sure your goddamn microphone's actually switched on. Hi. I don't know. What are you doing? Go away. Go away. Go. Okay, whatever. YouTube's being weird. Facebook is doing its thing, and I don't think it's live with the comments. So I'm going to do the thing here. I don't. Oh my god, no. We don't want the voice. There we go. Okay, so I can see comments on there. And I'm just going to be waxing lyrical here. Hello. I hope you've had a wonderful 2 days since the last time I've done another live stream. I am significantly more awake today compared to Tuesday at like 10 in the morning when I was still like waking up. I don't wake up until like I get out of bed at like 8:30 and then I do a whole bunch of morning stuff and then I actually like carpe diem at 10 ish. So very, very different circumstances. I am fully awake. I've been doing things and stuff. I'm going to jujitsu after this, so I am psyched. But you're here to understand why you should do a podcast. So being a little bit contrarian, all my titles are clickbait. Completely. I know what I'm doing. This is completely deliberate. There are no mistakes anywhere. And yeah, they're just designed to hook you in and also designed to let you know what's going on rather than like, I'm going live and I don't know what I'm going to talk about. No, I know exactly what's going on. Also, these are going to be turned into a private podcast afterwards because repurposing content is great. I was going to say is great, is okay, is a thing. Anyway, so 6 reasons why you should podcast. It's going to be a little bit more coherent than the 5 reasons why you shouldn't, just because I find it a little bit more exciting. Because when I have clients that are excited to do their podcast, it makes me excited to edit it. So let's go straight into reason number 1. And if you see me looking down, it's because I have a piece of paper with the bullet points down here. I'm not avoiding eye contact. I mean, I do that anyway. So that's what I'm doing the thing. So reason number 1 as to why you should do a podcast. You are mad passionate about your subject and you would literally talk to a spoon if it would nod. Slight Matrix reference there. But the fact is, you could literally talk about your subject forever and be excited about it. And when people ask you questions about the same topic over and over and over again, you don't get angry, you don't get annoyed, maybe you get a little bit frustrated because, it should be common knowledge, but if you're an expert in something, it's not going to be common knowledge. That's why experts exist, right? So you're mad passionate about it. My thing is if people don't know what tech to use, I'm like, I can literally fix that in 5 minutes. Actually, quicker than that. If you don't know what microphone to use, get a Samsung Q2U if you've got the budget for 70 quid. If you don't, get the Fifine, which is somewhere around the £45 mark. If you don't want to get that, use your phone. All right. If you want to get a Blue Yeti, get a Blue Yeti. Don't get a Snowball because it's terrible and it's omnidirectional. Done. You're welcome. But I don't mind repeating myself. So if you are good with just constantly saying the same things over and over again because you know it's going to help that person, then doing a podcast is definitely a no-brainer because then you have a permanent repository for people to access for free. So this is stuff you'd say for free anyway, so you just put it out there, right? Good. Really easy introduction. Point number 2. You, dear viewer slash listener, are disciplined enough to one, factor in the cost, both financially and in time, and to stick to a schedule when it comes to your podcast. And that's everything about the podcast, not just the ideas. All right, creating the ideas is pretty easy. It's also when it comes to recording. All right, so you set your specific amount of time. If you know your podcast is a 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, 45, 60, 75, these are all typical lengths of podcasts. If you know how long your podcast is going to be, then you need to schedule that in, and you need to schedule in your buffer beforehand and your buffer afterwards. So your 20-minute podcast will probably be an hour all in. About 15 minutes of faffing beforehand, your 20 minutes of recording, which actually will probably end up being more like 35 minutes or so. And then your last like 15, 20 minutes of just kind of topping and tailing everything. If you're that quick. If you're not that quick, then you finish doing that. And then you schedule another time to edit your podcast. Whatever you're doing, you're diligent about it. So that's your time and your schedule. And then the financial aspect of it, the money is your podcast host. You've already got that paid up for. If you have an editor, you already have that covered in, which will save you time, but it will cost you money. There's always a give and take, right? So that's number 2. I am seeing flashy things. Thanks, Mark. This is a £70, 75. It might be 75. I don't know. Inflation is a thing. This is a £70 microphone. And it's connected via USB to my MacBook, and there is nothing in between. I have done absolutely nothing. So it goes to show you, if you know how to use your microphone properly, which I do, you may have noticed that it's at an angle, for one. And for number 2, there's a very specific distance I'm keeping between my mouth and the microphone so you can get the clarity. Because the second I'm over here, it's dead. That's because it's a dynamic microphone, and there's certain magic about dynamic microphones, which I won't go into today. That's for, I think, next week, Thursday, we're going to go deep into technology. Fun. So 2 down, 4 to go. I'm great at maths. Point number 3. You love creating a deeper connection with your audience and leaving a welcoming opening door for newcomers. Now, with a podcast, the one great thing about it, if you're not a chart chaser, if you are a chart chaser or a money grabbing human individual, I am not your person. All right. I think charts are stupid because someone's like, oh my God, I'm on a chart. It's like, yeah, for how long? Like, you can be on the chart. You can be at the top of a chart for an hour. You can be on the top of a chart for a day. But I only care about your chart position after 3 months, 12 weeks. What have you been doing for 12 weeks, right? If you're still at the top of the chart after 3 months, then holy crap, kudos to you. But if you're like, oh, I beat Tim Ferriss, like, yeah, everyone's going to beat Tim Ferriss with their initial influx, and then they're going to just fall off the planet, right? I am not cynical. I'm not cynical at all. But I digress. The main thing you want is to appreciate the fact that your podcast can potentially be in the internet, in the world, forever, right? And that excites you because that's a free thing that anyone can stumble upon if they go down a specific rabbit hole of associated podcasts, of going down a specific category and then niching down into subcategories, or if a friend said, hey, I listened to this yesterday, you should listen to this episode. That's all it takes. One episode or whatever. And that person will just be into your world. They'll be in your hemisphere and space of things. So with doing that, if you already genuinely have this connection with your existing audience, those new people are going to just slide right on in and they're going to love what you have to say anyway. So if you have a deep love for creating this connection with your audience and knowing that whatever you have out there is just breadcrumbs, for people to come into your world, then you should definitely do a podcast. Like, no, yes, definitely do a podcast. So that is number 3 of 6. Now we're going into number 4. We're zooming through these today because I need to get to jiu-jitsu on time. So point number 4 is your podcast production style. So I mentioned podcast production style in the last live stream, which was on Tuesday. Yes, it was on Tuesday. And I'm going to mention it again because I think this is the most important aspect that a lot of people are overlooking or underestimating or devaluing and undervaluing, essentially. So when it comes to your podcast production style, what I mean is a mixture of 2 or 3 things, right? So the first one is, how do you want to podcast? You as an individual. Is it you as an individual? Right? So you have different styles, which includes solo. So what I'm doing is basically going to be a solo podcast by the time I'm done with this, where you just wax lyrical into a microphone or into a video webcam and just talk about whatever subjects you're passionate about. And it's just a monologue, a really fun, dynamic monologue that goes on for ages, right? Solo's fine. The only problem with solo, of course, is the fact that you could potentially burn out. And if you don't plan ahead for time off and for burnouts, then your podcast risks dying prematurely, which is a very, very common thing. You know, a lot of podcasts get subjected to what's known in the industry as pod fade. And you don't want pod fade to happen, right? So that's the first style. The next style you have is as a duo. So if you have a business partner or you just have a friend or business friend or whatever, and you happen to bounce off really, really well, as a dynamic duo, you guys just wax lyrical together. So you get that back and forth and you get to lift each other up when the other person is down. If both of you are down, you both get to rise at the same time. But you get to keep on going and you get to factor in the fact that there are going to be times when the podcast doesn't happen. But if you plan for it, then it's good. If you don't plan for it and then the energy dies, that's bad, obviously. So that's the duo. So we've done solo. An example of a solo podcaster who I listen to every now and then had an unpopular moment, but he's a comedian. His name is Chris D'Elia, and he just monologues and goes off on little kind of mental tangents and stuff. He's an absolute psychopath. But Chris D'Elia is an example of a solo podcaster. A duo would be Jocko Willink and Echo Charles, right? So they're always there together in their podcast, a very stoic, black and white, military podcast that I listen to. That's an example of a duo, and they're always together. They sometimes add the next thing that I'm going to mention, where they have another person on, but ultimately that's what they do. Number 3 is interview. So this is a very typical thing that Joe Rogan always does. I don't think I have ever seen a Joe Rogan episode where he's solo, like even with his MMA stuff. So I tend to watch the MMA stuff more so than interviewing people because I find his interview style a little bit grating. So with Joe Rogan, he interviews people, right? He's curious. Tim Ferriss is an interesting hybrid because he's got his best friends that he talks to in a duo style. He does his own monologue sometimes. And beyond that, he interviews, right? So those are the 3. So the next one after that is a panel. So you can be the host with the most and then just invite, 3, 4, 5 people into a panel setting. So it's just a round table. I'm getting all the phrases in here today. And you guys chat. You just have a topic of discussion and you let people kind of have their bit, share their ideas and ideologies about certain topics. And you go in that way. Going from the panel, you can expand into the Q&A, so you can get your listeners to jump in with the Q&A. But the Q&A kind of thing goes across all options. So with the panel, with the interview, with the duo, with the solo, that's all covered. And then the final kind of production style is reusing old content. So kind of structuring webinars or seminars or any kind of audio and shoving it into an episode. That is an option. I don't really encourage it so much because people already know that it's a disconnected experience. So they will know that, if they message in, it's not going to be something that you're hot onto. It's something that like you did before and just like, oh yeah, I did this. And when I was thinking at that time, you always have that kind of past thing, which is not great. So that's one side of the podcast production style. The other side is your publishing method. Is my cat Icarus? He is. Oh God, if he does this, it's gonna be so annoying. If you used to watch my podcasts that I used to stream live, you know exactly what's about to happen. Are you out, monkey? Oh, you are out. Okay, cool. It's not going to happen. Thank God. Uh, yeah, basically, he's got his little thing back there and he will go in and make all the noise for like 15 minutes, which is not okay. No one likes it. But cool. So the other side of podcast production style is your publishing schedule. So when it comes to your publishing schedule, there are lots of ways you can do this. I have 2 different forms that I kind of tend to refer to people, and I have a preference. And I think everyone, when they realize what the options are, kind of comes to this preference choice as well. So you have your infinite schedule, where you're just constantly every week or every day or whatever your style of schedule is, you're constantly just churning out episodes. So it can be once a week, can be twice a week, two, three, four, five times daily, right? And you're just constantly churning them out. The problem with that is you're either going to be super reactive, where you record maybe on the day, a day before, 2, 3 days before, or whatever, and you will burn out unless you're Joe Rogan or someone else. But he has a whole production team after that. So if you're doing everything yourself, you will burn out unless you love it. So you have that kind of infinite reactive style where you just keep on going and you just have to do everything and then kind of like cluster clap each time you do an episode. And then you've got the ones where you can pre-record a little bit, but then the same thing happens where you're just constantly trying to catch up on yourself. So those are the two ones I talk about but don't really encourage. And then the ones I like are the proactive versions where you are planning well ahead. Like this could be 2 months in advance before you actually record anything, whereby you plan the episodes, you get them recorded, and I like seasons. I think seasons are great, okay? How you distribute the seasons is totally up to you. You can, do it in a terrestrial TV style where you drip feed the content. But because of the way you've done it, you've scheduled everything, so it just automatically goes out, and you maybe don't even need to press a button, right? That's how automated it can be, where you just look at your schedule, it's like, oh, okay, that's what's going out this week. On all the other stuff, I'll just hint towards this episode that's coming out this week, and you just stay on top of it. And then the other style is where you do a Netflix drop, right? Where, I'm a dirty Netflix binger. Netflix binger. I can't say that. I'm a dirty Netflix binger. Ooh. Where if an episode is out, Icarus, not today. Cat. Oi. Icarus. Don't do it. Don't do it. He's doing it. He's doing it. Anyway, so the style that I prefer is the Netflix binge drop, right? My cat's going to make noise in a second. It is what it is. I'm just going to pause and make stupid faces until he finishes. And with this, you've created the season, right? And you drop it. So say you have, I don't know, 6 episodes in a season, right? And you choose to either promote it, like all at once, going, hey, I've done a season, then 6 episodes, off you go. Tell me how you liked it. Don't do that. Or you can binge drop the entire thing. I'm going to keep on going. You can binge drop the entire thing. And as each week goes by, you can do promotions and discussions around the episode for that week. So you still have 6 weeks of saving grace and just chilling out and just kind of promoting things as you go. A really good example of Icarus, shut up, bro. Not today. Not today. A really, a really good example is, he's really trying my patience. Oh. Stephen Fry and the 7 Deadly Sins. He did this last year, right at the beginning of lockdown. Basically, he released it. I think he actually drip fed it, but he would post about the episode on Twitter, and he would have a discussion about it, right? And I loved it. Like I mean, I love Stephen Fry's voice and just everything he does. But the style and the way he did it was really, really good. So you can do that if you choose to. And with that, if you have your guests, right, you can get them to do what I call a thunderclap. So as and when an episode goes out, you tell them, or you tag them and tell them, right? It's part of your kind of early screening of a guest, like, hey, if you come onto this show, like, you need to do this, 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 and this, which includes promoting it, promote your episode. So when they do a thunderclap, people come in and you get that nice swell for each episode, but they're all out already, right? They're all already out. But ultimately, you still get that little nice spike every time. And with that spike, you bring new people in. And from that, they kind of start noodling around, kind of going, ooh, what other things have you had in the past? Like, ooh, there's another episode. What is this? Like, no one's spoken about that, right? So that's what you can do. And that concludes point number 4, which is always a really meaty one when it comes to your podcast production style. Icarus. What? Yes, good for. I'm doing a live stream. Okay, just be quiet. 10 minutes, please. 10 minutes, and then I'm going to jujitsu. Um, the life of a cat mother. Right. Yes, exactly. Meow. All the meows. So, point number 4. We have 2 more points to go, and I have 10 minutes to get through them because I don't want these to be over half an hour. I don't want them to be over 15 minutes, but it seems like I can talk for England, and my cat has gone absolutely mad. I'm sorry. Here's some cat entertainment for you. Great. So, point number 5 is a really easy one. I mean, I've written this and gone duh, but it's true. You love podcasts, right? You genuinely love listening to them. You love interacting with them. You're probably on like a few podcasters like newsletters or Patreons. It depends what level of involvement you have with these podcasters, but you are about that life, right? Because in the previous video, I was talking about you're not about that life. This one, obviously, I'm talking about you are about that life because it always gives you inspiration. When you're an avid listener and you go beyond just being an avid listener, of course, it takes a bit of skill to be able to switch this on and off. Icarus, quit it. Just because I'm talking doesn't mean I'm talking to you for like 20 minutes. So if you're an avid lover of podcasts and stuff, you can start taking bits of inspiration from the people you listen to. Like, ooh, how are their intros? Like, oh, they've changed their intros. If I go back 30 episodes, they had a different intro. I actually kind of like that intro versus this intro. Maybe I want to try and kind of see if that works for me. And I have Discord open and I should have closed it. Schoolgirl error number 5. So you can do that kind of thing. Beyond that, you can you can listen to their talking style, their interview style, the energy that they have. You know, you can take all of these things on board. You can also ask yourself, like, why is there a theme within the podcast that I listen to? Like, I know full well I listen to Jocko, I listen to Jordan Peterson. There's a whole bunch of traveling podcasters I listen to, and most of them are male because I have very sensitive ears and I need people in a lower register for it not to be jarring. Because if there's a higher register, I'm just like, I can't have this, even if I'm just listening to the podcast and not working at the same time. So that's a good thing for you to have with point number 5. Super quick, super to the point. Now, for the last one, I'm just going to check if anyone's saying things on anywhere. Look at YouTube, look at LinkedIn. Icarus, yeah, he is offended and he has gone into his house and he's gonna probably start meowing in a second from his house, because that's what he does. He's a very not attentive. He desires attention. He needs attention all the time, which is really really annoying when I'm trying to do these kind of things, right? So yeah. Anyway, let's go to the last point because I'm doing really well on time. Amazing. So the last one is a shameless plug because this is what I'm doing with each one of these. There's going to be like a little kind of CTA kind of thing. But this one's a CTA of intrigue because I have changed the document again. Like I've changed it 4 times and I've changed it again. Don't be a graphic designer amongst all the other things you are. Okay, it sucks. So the last point is you've done the 6 pillars of podcast creation and you're set to go. So, Shiggy, what is this 6 pillars of podcast creation you talk about? Well, dear listener / viewer, it is basically who, what, why, when, where, and how. I think in that order. Yes, which covers everything about why you need to do your podcast. And it's basically a blueprint as to whenever you decide you want to do your podcast, whether you want to do it now, whether you want to do it in 2 years or 3 years or 4 years. The way I've designed this document from talking to oodles of people during lockdown is a future-proof plan for you to kind of figure out when, where, and how and why you want to do your podcast, right? And that covers your why, like why the hell do you want to do a podcast in the first place, right? Why do you want to do it? You know, what's your outcome that you're looking for when it comes to it? And I've actually covered it in these 6 reasons today. You know, your audience. Are your audience relevant? Have you thought about them? Have you thought about the new ones? Have you thought about the existing ones? Where you're going to do it? So depending on who you are, what you do, and why, you might be better using Hello Audio, which is something, a new audio platform I've just kind of jumped into literally 2 days ago. It's amazing for private podcasting. So helloaudio.fm, you get that for free. Because it links to courses. So if any of you guys do courses or business things and you want to have a private podcast that they link natively to Thinkific, which I didn't know until last night when I was talking to one of the reps. I'm not affiliated yet. And yeah, so Hello Audio might be good for you, or Libsyn might be better, or Blueberry might be better if you've got WordPress, or Transistor might be better, or Castos, or Podbean if you're starting out for free, right? I'm giving you these things for free, but this document covers all of that in insane detail. It also covers your technology, like what your budget is, what you can do to maximize that budget so you don't have to keep on buying every couple of months or couple of years. This microphone I will probably say is great for 80% of you. The Yeti might be great for other people if you've got a better room setting. If you've got a really echoey room, a Yeti might not be great for you. But again, if we sit with this document and we have a chat, in 90 minutes, you basically get whether or not you want to do this podcast. Like the ultimate thing, no amount of Google is better than this document. And that's a humble brag, but that's also what people have told me. So I'm leaning into it. And yeah, with that document, you basically have it set. Like, so whenever you're ready to start, you can do that. If you want to know kind of like what editors to look out for, so a good editor versus ones that will just kind of run through the mill and you don't even know if what you're listening to is good or not, I run you through that as well. Because if you don't want to work with me, I'm not offended. I just want to see you win. So whatever that means, as long as you get the thing done, that's good. And as long as you avoid pod fade, that's even better, because pod fade is horrible, right? You're like, yeah, I'm excited. This is all great. It's stimulating all my dopamine receptors, and then they die. And that's pod fade. Because that podcast of yours now disappears into the hubris of the internet, and then you stop paying for your podcast, so then all you get left is these little husks of your podcast dotted around Google search and Ecosia search and Ask Jeeves. No one knows about Ask Jeeves. Ask Jeeves was great. Anyway, so that is that is basically today's little live stream. The next live stream, I think, is probably, I like Tuesdays and Thursdays. Tuesdays and Thursdays are nice. I think I'm going to keep on doing that. These should all be documents, but I can't be bothered. So I shouldn't say that. No, I have a minion who's doing them, but I've just given it to them late. So, that's how it works. If you delegate late, everything happens late. But I'm very, very chill because I'm turning old in a couple of weeks and I don't like it. So I'm mentally dealing with that. Anyway, if you're watching this on the replay, let me know down below, or wherever the hell you're viewing this, on LinkedIn and Facebook and YouTube, if it even worked. YouTube's stupid. And if you have questions, please, for the love of God, ask me the questions. Obviously, I am more than happy to answer as and when. There's no question that's stupid. The only stupid question is the one you haven't asked me yet, right? Because it's stuck in here. And it's dumb if it's stuck in here. It's smarter when it comes out here, and then I can help you. I can help you, which is what I want to say. So cool. I have been talking for far too long. I love your faces. And if you find me on the internet anywhere and you have questions, please ask them. Okay? I need to help people. It helps with my whole validation complex. All right. I love you guys. I'll see you soon. Bye.